Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. This week's reviews are brought to you by this week's reviews. Don't talk too fast, Tim. Are brought to you by thefilmgordon.com. Experience film through the eyes of a true film addict. Yours truly. I am Tim Gordon, editor-in-chief of thefilmgordon.com. Now, on this show, we discuss my views of upcoming films. You can also read or listen to past reviews either on thefilmgordon.com or on Spreaker.com at Film Gordon. Now, this week we look at Mank, a biographical drama film from screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz, not from him, about Herman J. Mankiewicz and his development of the script for Citizen Kane, one of the 5 best American movies ever made. Now, the story centers on the life of Herman J. Mankiewicz as he wrote Citizen Kane and the problems that arose with Orson Welles during production and leading up to the film's release. Mank is directed by David Fincher based on a script written by his father, Jack Fincher, and the film is produced by Sean Chaffin, Douglas Urbanski, and Eric Roth, and stars Gary Oldman, Oscar winner Gary Oldman, in the role of Mankiewicz, along with Amanda Seyfried, Lily Collins, Arliss Howard, Tom Pelphrey, and a gang of others. Now, let's talk a little bit about Mank. This story of the making of Citizen Kane, which was Orson Welles' debut film that took Hollywood by storm after he arrived a couple of years earlier with his War of the Worlds broadcast that scared, half of America thinking that an alien invasion was coming. The executives in Hollywood were so impressed by Welles that they gave him, at 22 years old, unprecedented power in Hollywood, where they gave him, final cut, full casting. He brought out his Mercury players and his theater company, the Mercury Players, out and created and crafted a film that is still looked at as a landmark film almost 80 years after it's been released. And this film, Mank, tells the story of Herman J. Mankiewicz, who we find out in the story was hired by Welles to write this film initially in 90 days. That time was cut to 60 days and then was cut even further as he was rehabbing a broken foot, ankle, leg, something that was broken, but he's rehabbing it, drinking heavily, and in a very unorthodox way, creating this masterpiece under the watchful eyes of Welles and his team of other writers who kind of assisted the process along. And the story really kind of moves back and forward as, of course, all of this is happening in circa around 1940-ish, 1939, 1940-ish, before the 41 release of Citizen Kane. But we also go back and we see Mankiewicz on the lot with Tom Arliss, who's over at MGM, who plays Mr. Mayor in this film, who I think does an amazing job. We also see his friendship with the mistress of William Randolph Hearst, who's played in this film by Charles Dance, Marion Davies, played by Amanda Seyfried. I'm not sure exactly the correct pronunciation of her name, but the film really delves into, outside of Mank's wife in this film, the person that he probably loves the most and who understands him the most is Marion Davies. And there's one particular scene where they kind of spend time catching up and kind of, getting in tune with one another, not in a way that it's intimate love, as in like the two of them are going to be together, but you clearly get that, or you clearly understand that she gets him, he gets her, and that she understands her place. They sort of come from the same place in New York, and that kind of upbringing, and they just sort of click. They have a relationship and a bond that I think is at the heart of the entire story of Mank. I think the black and white cinematography that David Fincher uses is very effective in the retelling of this story. And I think that it adds sort of like, if you would have told this in color, the fact that Citizen Kane is in black and white and this film is in black and white, it almost feels like you're in a companion universe from a storytelling perspective, which I thought was really, really smart. A smart visual choice on Fincher's part in order to pull that off. And the film, of course, is anchored by award-winning performances, of course, by Oldham and Seyfried, that I think are really great. And I think Arliss Howard as mayor is also really, really good in this film. Now, my issue with the film itself is that it's a story that appeals to me because I'm a guy who's a film historian and has long loved the study of the golden age of Hollywood and classic film in Hollywood, and also loving Citizen Kane. But I think that for younger viewers who may be just discovering the story, I'm not sure, again, if this is a story that will hold their interest over a 2-hour time period. I think it's a story well told. I just think that the appeal, in my estimation, is limited unless you're, you know, a fan of classic film, you're a fan of Citizen Kane, you're a cinephile. I mean, you get it and you understand it, but for the average audience member, I'm not sure if Mank is the kind of film that will hold people's attention. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because all films are not made for everyone. But I think it's a shame in this instance that it takes a certain amount of patience, a certain amount of understanding to kind of go with this story, because I think that the end result is a very fascinating tale of a great piece of work. So I think I'm kind of conflicted in that way, that it's a story that, again, I feel very passionate about, and I was aware of many of the trials and tribulations and challenges that Mank has. The only thing for me is that I think the film fails to answer one fundamental question that kind of bothered me, and this was after multiple viewings of the film, is that I understand you created the story and what some of the inspirations of the story were, but I wanted to understand the why. I don't think the film does a good job of answering the why question, the why, despite the relationships and kind of the camaraderie between these characters, of the why that Mankiewicz would do what Mankiewicz did. I mean, what he did is he created an amazing story that at some point it became a dispute on the credit of the story. But the why Mankiewicz did what he did, I don't think, and maybe David Fincher struggled with that as well, trying to figure out how to put that on and best way to display that sort of conflict that kind of occurs between the man and his art. But having said all that, I think Mank is a solid film that I think, in my estimation, and I could be wrong, and I have been wrong before and would love to be wrong again, maybe a film that will not appeal to a much larger audience because of its content, because of the time period, because of, you know, it's something that people may or may not be interested in exploring. But I think Mank is a fascinating tale. Again, for all of the reasons that and all of the things that are inside of me that I feel about this film, I think a B is probably the most appropriate grade. I think that as I said earlier, the cinematography, the music, the performances in this film, everything are top notch. David Fincher is an amazing director. Have loved many of his films, including Seven, Fight Club, and some of the other things that Fincher has done. This is another film, another feather, I should say, in Fincher's cap. Mank, I thought, was a really good film. This film opens, of course, on Netflix on December the 4th. So if you want to check it out, it'll be playing on Netflix pretty soon. And as I tell you guys in closing every week, please see something good at the movies. Mank is actually worth your time. I'm not sure if it'll be everyone's cup of tea. It worked for me. So as I said, we gave Mank a B. And until we see you on the other side, you guys take care and you enjoy your weekend. Bye.